there were not going to be anyone, because since Mexico doesn't imposes tariffs on the US would not impose tariffs on Mexico. I said that's from the last call that we had with President Trump. I said it at the Zócalo in Mexico City. And obviously, of course, with its own characteristics that has to do for the car industry and steel and aluminum. But it's very important that everything is known. Everything that remains with zero tariffs within the trade agreement with the United States. The treaty among Canada, the United States, and Mexico. That's why I invite the Secretary of Economy, Marcelo Ebrard, so he can speak about all this, and also about the negotiations and dialogue that exist with the U.S. government in terms of trade, particularly. On the other hand, it's important that you know that today at noon we called a meeting, a broad meeting, where governors, legislators, businessmen, workers, representatives, union representatives, and representatives of indigenous people is going to be there, a broad meeting. The objective of this meeting is obviously, well, if there were something else for Mexico, well, we had some other statements and proposals, but I've been saying that we have a plan. So the plan for strengthening national economy and the well-being of the people of Mexico is a plan that we have been developing and has to do with Plan Mexico. So we're going to move forward many of the actions within this plan, and that's where we're going to present today at noon at the Anthropology Museum. In the meanwhile, I call on the Secretary of Economy to explain, Marcelo, the reach of what was presented yesterday and also what has to do with the industry of cars and steel and aluminum. Yeah, you have the floor. Good morning. With your permission, Ms. President, if we can go to the next. This map is so that it's easier to have a picture of what is happening yesterday, and then I'm going to add to what was previously announced. So we have a new commerce system in the world. It's not the same of tariffs favor as for all in the beginning. The United States has 14 free trade agreements, but the only case where tariffs were not imposed is in the one that has to do with the treaty Mexico, the United States, and Canada. In the rest, they were applied. So it's another commerce system. What the President is saying in this new commerce strategy was that Mexico has to achieve a preferential treatment. It means that we have better conditions to compete. Everything has to be thought in relation to everyone else. Who can have more tariffs and what product can be more expensive in terms of logistics and the closeness. How to manage that what Mexico exported is more competitive than the rest of countries. That's the route that Ms. President has been building. So that's the strategy of President Sheinbaum, and it's working. Because today we have a preferential treatment, and we have it here in what are reciprocal tariffs. This is the world map. There are some countries like Russia that has sanctions, because if they were exempted, people were saying that if they were exempted, but it's just another situation that has to do with the war in Ukraine. So in this red color, is all the different tariffs that were announced yesterday. So in the case of Mexico, as we can see, the United States, of course, the one that imposed it, and Canada, we have a treaty.
pues tenemos 0%. Es el
So
único
we have
caso.
0%. It's the only case.
En eso es como se traduce
That's how we can translate
trato que se ha logrado gracias a la
this
estrategia
treaty
que ha sido
that
la
has been
pacificación,
managed
gran logro,
thanks
yo
to
le
the
diría,
strategy of
desde el punto de
President
vista
Sheinbaum,
de
an
que
achievement
cuando empezó
from the
esto,
point of view
hace
that
muy
when
poco,
this all began a few
no iba a haber
moments
ninguna
ago,
excepción.
there were not going to be any
La
exemptions.
siguiente, por favor.
The next.
Esto es nada más de los primeros cuadros que empezaron a
This is from the
publicarse, porque
first
va a haber mucha
graphs that were
información
published
de los
because there are going to be
intereses.
many information in the
¿Quién
coming
tiene
days.
tratado
Who
de
has
libre comercio con
free
Estados
trade
Unidos?
agreement with the
¿Y
United
qué
States
tarifa recíproca
and
se le
what
puso el día de
reciprocal
ayer?
tariffs were imposed?
Todos estos países
All
tienen
these
tratados de libre
countries
comercio.
have free trade
Como
agreements.
podrán ustedes ver, está Singapur,
As you can
Marruecos,
see, Singapore, Morocco, Jordan,
Chile, Corea del Sur,
Nicaragua,
Colombia,
Chile,
Perú,
South Korea, Colombia,
y así
Peru,
sucesivamente, hasta